to ultimately help our students learn in any scenario, but especially in this year's scenario. In a face-to-face model, our classes would typically be over 30 students in some cases. In the hybrid model, we are able to work in smaller groups to provide more individualized instruction through differentiation and to feel more comfortable with experimenting with new technology-based lessons and activities to meet the needs of our modern learners. Teachers are using our professional learning communities at every level this year to collaborate with each other to create inquiry-based lessons and project-based lessons and assessments, because the hybrid model allows teachers to facilitate a learning environment in which students can go from investigation to creation.
Miss Kirsten, your time is up. Thank you so much. The little bell didn't go off, but thank you so much, Lindsay and Kirsten. We appreciate it. Okay, let's see. The next one we have is AJ Glover.
Good evening, Mr. Pye, school board, cabinet members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all this evening. My name is AJ Glover, and I'm an 8th grade social studies teacher at Austin Middle School, as well as a varsity football coach at Somerville High School. And I am a proud product of Dorchester District 2. Over the past few weeks, I know that there has been discussion about what the next step should be in regards to bringing students back and student learning. Should we bring them back in 5 days or continue with the hybrid model? I felt compelled to speak to you all this evening and reflect on conversations that I had with my colleagues in the 8th grade at Austin this past Friday. During our grade level meeting, we remarked on how well the hybrid model was working. To be honest, at the beginning of the year, we were not sure how the model would work. But during the first quarter of the school year, teachers did what they do. They adjusted to what's best for their students, they met in their various professional learning communities, and they found ways to make what our superintendent and board wanted us to do a success. One word that we frequently hear this year is unprecedented. These are unusual times. Every aspect of our lives has changed. We were directed to teach children in these unprecedented times and keep them, and by extension, their families safe. Teachers saw the positives in hybrid learning and were eager to try a new way of learning. Even for this old dog, I was able to learn some new tricks. To a person, you look at the successes that we have had with the hybrid learning and feel good about what we have been able to do. The smaller classes have provided more one-to-one instruction and allowed us to zero in on those students with more differentiated learning. Students have also embraced the smaller classes, and those who were once in their shell have come out, and I see more participation in class. More hands are raised, more discussions are had. As a teacher, I can sit in my chair with my students around me, and we can talk about why there was a need for slave codes, or why did the colonists feel the need to become independent. With smaller classes, there has been a significant drop in behavior. I've yet to write a detention or even call home about a behavior issue in my classroom, let alone write a referral. The classrooms are free of the distractions that can hinder learning. Those students who used to be a behavior issue are now a positive part of the classroom. The hybrid model also affords teachers, especially math and ELA teachers, the chance to meet with their students on Fridays and offer more time for tutoring and address that student's needs. Those students are voluntarily signing up for extra class time and taking more ownership of their learning. The empowerment that they feel is something that I haven't seen in my time as a teacher. I've also noticed an increase in the respect that students have shown their peers. We will never have all the answers. To you all in this room who make the ultimate decisions for these students, your task is challenging, and I can't imagine the pressure that is placed on you and your decision making. I know parents will say that they're having a tough time, and I feel their child is struggling. It is our job as teachers to get them through.
Mr. Glover.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, at this time we have Miss Shanika Summerhill, and she will be with Paula, I think it's Luciano.
Good evening. My name is Paula Luciano, and I teach second grade at Beach Hill. Thank you so much for all you've done to ensure that we could safely return to school this year. With every hardship I've encountered, I've always tried to learn a lesson from it. With this experience, I've learned a lot. I've learned to value the relationships I have with my students. The hybrid model has given me a chance to reach every child every day. Students and teachers have a renewed gratitude for each other and the ability to go to school. Smaller cohorts have allowed me to build strong relationships with students and families, give students true small group instruction, and reach them on an individual level like never before. Having a shorter time with them taught me to value quality over quantity. I plan thoughtfully to ensure that every minute with them counts. All of these things and more are lessons that will stick with me forever. Like everyone, I crave normalcy. I want to do my normal groups and lessons, but I'm teaching myself and my students to always make the best of what we have. Our children are learning to be flexible while having the predictable structure they need for their day, time with their teachers and time with their classmates. The district's plan allows me to reach my students while remaining as safe as we can. The support of our parents does not go unnoticed, and we are thankful for the sacrifices and willingness to make what we have been given successful. Thank you.
Good evening. Out of my 26 years, this has truly been a new normal for me. I, too, am a product of this district, and I'm proud to say that I'm not only an employee, but I'm also a parent of 2 children who are still in this district. This pandemic has undoubtedly forced us to monitor and adjust through these unprecedented and uncharted waters for the good of our students. We are finally into a rhythm and a routine. We do not have very many behavior problems. It has truly been a smooth transition. This hybrid model has allowed us to create a culture and a climate in our classrooms where they feel safe, secure, practice social distancing. When they came in and saw the plexiglass, we had taken half of the desks out just so that they could feel more relaxed, and they have. It allows us to make intimate connections with our students and build meaningful relationships. And SEL has truly been a blessing, especially in times like these where these students need that support. We can reach more students. We have a more clear vision of those that may need some extra assistance. And students have a sense of urgency. No time is lost. The time at school is very valuable to them. They come with a hunger, and we are devoting ourselves to creating lessons that feed their souls. Now more than ever in times like these, I think, is when we need to trust the process and trust the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Summerhill and Ms. Luciano. Next, we have Mr. Philip Hall.
Hello, y'all. My name is Philip Hall. I've spoke here several times before. I'm just going to get into this. I have some emails that I've gotten from parents that ask me to speak that they can't, because they can't be here tonight. They can't afford to be here tonight. My child needs to be in school. This hybrid mess has not been good for my children's education. My child's grades are a definite reflection of this, and even hiring a tutor, which I can't afford, my child is still failing. I'm pulling both of my kids out of the school in the next couple of weeks. I had my 8th grader complete some homeschool assessment for reading math, and she can't even pass 7th grade. My child works 8 to 10 hours a day and is falling further and further behind. I don't know what the psychological damage this is doing to my child. I'm pulling my child out. I feel like what we were saying is falling on deaf ears. This school board is full of cowards. I'm tired of waiting for the district to do the right thing by my children. If Joseph Pye listened to the parents and students as much as he listens to a group of teachers, our kids would have been back in school a long time ago. My child has anxiety through the roof and an upset stomach every day. I can't run my business, and I have to quit my job because I have to be home with my children. My child is hurting. Families are hurting. My child is to the point of vomiting every day because of how this is affecting him. Philip, and then thanking me for the efforts and passion that I'm bringing to this fight. It's so frustrating and it's upsetting that they continue to hide behind these BS excuses with no concerns for our children's welfare. So yes, I don't think you care because you're not changing the plan, because the plan's not working. I dare you to send surveys out to the students and ask them how they're doing, how much they like this, because they don't. This is not a routine. They're not in no routine. It's crap. And I'm a big supporter of teachers. I'm not even going to have to justify myself in that. But the teachers that won't go in and are fighting for our children back 5 days a week are failing our children, and you all are failing our children. Evan, when it was voting day, you had no problem walking around asking for votes. I want you to fight for our children. I know Barbara Crosby will, and I believe you will, Ashley, and and I'm just asking for the entire board to. Also, there was a 99.4 survival rate. Kids have a better chance of dying from toothpicks, jellyfish, and middle school football than they do by going to school. The CDC director said the safest place for kids to be is in school. Not one kid has died strictly from COVID, that didn't have an underlying condition. Not one. It is believed that over 1 million kids will drop out because of a hybrid model. Last time we were here, there was teachers outside with signs saying, sign kids and teachers, don't sign for my child. Don't speak for my child. Because my child wants to be in school every day, 5 days a week. Teachers, I don't want teachers as activists, and any teacher to walk, I said it before, and keep walking. And I believe instead of you spend 90% of your time, Mr. Pye, defending teachers, defend students and parents. My own child had a problem this time. I emailed a teacher, and you know what response we got back? I don't think he's in my class. He's been in there. We already got a report card. The plan isn't working, and until you change it, don't tell us that you care about our children.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Okay, next we have Miss Camille Crocker.
Hi, the board and Mr. Pye. This is kind of, y'all are not in 3rd grade, you're much bigger. I am a System 44 teacher at William Reeves Elementary, and I just gave my assessments this last week, and I was afraid, but I was incredibly surprised at how well my students did and the progress that they are making. And I think, like every other teacher in this room, we were worried. But my kids are making gains. I saw this quote, and I thought it really spoke to the way some people see the hybrid issue. Staying positive doesn't mean everything will turn out okay. Rather, it means you'll be okay no matter how things turn out. The generation who was alive in 1929 and 1945 certainly faced terrible challenges. That was a span of 16 years of continuous sacrifice between the Depression and World War II. They struggled for 16 years. We've done this for 8 months. Perspective is important. As adults, we need to model constructive behavior for our children and our students. Let them know that we too have suffered some tough times and come through stronger. I am blessed to work in a school environment where the adults are positive and model resilience and flexibility for our students. Shout out to my principal. My students are progressing, my relationships with them are solid, and as proof, my walls are filled with original art and happy messages. We are choosing in my school to focus going ahead. In 1958, that was the last school fire with a fatality. However, we still do fire drills to be safe. We also do earthquake drills, active shooter drills, tornadoes. I know how to use a tourniquet, and I know how to give CPR. None of these have happened in my school or in my class. But it is important to acknowledge the possibility and know how the safety issue will be addressed. As an organization that has always valued safety of its students and staff, DD2 should stay the course. Yesterday, the fatality rate was up 71% in South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crocker. Our next public speaker is Mr. Robert Nooner.
Hello, Chairperson Robinson, board members, and Superintendent Mr. Pye. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. My name is Robert Nooner. I have two sons that are middle school students in Dorchester District 2 schools. One is a special needs student at Gregg Middle. One is a GATE student at Rawlings Middle School of the Arts. My wife teaches virtually at Somerville High School, and I'm the principal of Windsor Hill Arts Infused Elementary School. I wanted to speak because I want the public to know the level of preparation that has occurred to make sure our students, teachers, and school community were safe and that they had the best opportunities to learn under the current circumstances. This summer, we had committee meetings to think through every logistical need we could anticipate. Committees consisted of administrators, faculty, staff, parents, community members, and high school students. The 5 committees included communication, teaching and learning, operations, technology, and health and safety. Principals planned multiple schedules for different situations. Faculty, staff, students, and administrators all wear masks and practice good hygiene. Custodians scrubbed buildings and developed cleaning plans. Room studies were done to see how many students could safely fit into each classroom. Faculty members took in as much as they possibly could to learn technology to effectively teach in an e-learning or virtual academy environment. Protocols were developed and followed to safely prevent exposure and manage COVID-19. Lines of communication were open with schools, collecting surveys, doing call-outs, sending emails, and more. Teachers worked with students that were brought in during a leap week to help prepare them for new routines with the school to collect baseline testing data critical for planning for a successful year of instruction. Once the school year started, we continued to look at what we could do better to effectively teach children. At the elementary level, we brought all K-5 based students into the school at a higher frequency, 5 days a week. I have seen my faculty become more efficient in their ability to teach online. Our newly structured technology plan and resources helped us to continue to strengthen in this area. We are continuing to take measures to ensure we are safe. As I speak, plexiglass barriers are being installed in our schools. The reason our metrics indicate such a low number of cases within our schools is we have worked hard and carried out a logical plan. We have been able to find success with the hybrid model and ensure safety. The metrics for the state and nation at this time are not where we wanted them to be. I am fearful of what would happen if we brought our kids back full-time for face-to-face learning. I'm proud to work for and live in a district that values providing an excellent education and a safe environment for all students. Finding balance between safety and a high-quality education continues to be hard at this time, but our kids are worth it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Nooner.
Thank you.
If anyone wanted to be excused after their public comments, please know that we understand. Moving forward, I will need a motion to approve the minutes from the November 9th meeting, 2020.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes, and Mr. Guthrie second. Is there any discussion? I don't think you were a member of the board at that time. Okay, I need a second. Mr. Mitchum, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. And only those that were actual members last. Okay, it is unanimous by those who were here. That's 4. And we did have a majority and a quorum, and that's 3 absences. Thank you. Now it's time for our superintendent's report.
First of all, when we have all these things that we're focused on, as I said earlier in the workshop, and we're becoming very one track in trying to offer a balanced quality education as well as the safety of kids and communicating that, and none of that's a small feat since no one we know of in the world has experienced any of the above. This is all new for everybody, and it's been very challenging as we try to work together. I would like to, however, say during this time, Rollins had their official recognition in Washington, D.C., virtually, in the National Blue Ribbon School Award ceremony, where several hundred schools throughout the nation were recognized. And it was about a 1/2 minute, maybe 45-second blip for them, but it was well worth it for those of us in the district cheering them on, because as any school is recognized, the whole district is recognized, because we're a school family, and when one school has success, we use that to spin success everywhere within the district. We learn from each other, we lift each other up, and we move forward together. Also, I had the honor to be invited to speak on the National Public Radio Network this morning. I was interviewed around the nation on a national basis with the Low Country. I'm chairman of the Low Country Educators Consortium, where we are the Charleston County, Berkeley, Dorchester 4, now Colleton County. We're together in District 2, and where we meet once a month to talk about the issues. It started over the bad weather, the hurricane, trying to be alike. Well, obviously, we tried to be alike with the COVID, and that's not been the same. Each district has faced something different. Colleton is still all virtual, and, well, I guess they're playing with the hybrid, but they keep talking about going back the other direction, and so that's scary when you hear that. So it's every one of us is seeing something different. We've also expanded that to, each Monday morning. Now, other districts are interested in joining the consortium, such as Beaufort, Georgetown, one other district, Horry County. And so they're future members of our consortium, and they're weighing in on what they're doing in their schools at this time as we're monitoring all the schools and school districts in the state. But that was very good today, as we were asked to share what is Dorchester 2 doing and how is it working, how do we know it's working, what information have we gleaned that will help us push forward and be a better school district next year and the year after and the year after, and what would we not repeat if we had a chance to do it again. And so it was an interesting morning, and I had Julie there to bounce something off in case I ran into trouble, but as usual, I was able to make it through. I didn't have a problem with that. But so with that said, we now want to give you our regular board meeting every 2 weeks, an update of where we are on the instructional models and the health matrices and things that we're looking at, to give you some idea of what we're focusing for and perhaps where we're headed. So, Ms. Canarins, if you would do that part.
Good evening, good morning. It's been a long day. Good evening, board members, Chair Robinson, Mr. Pye. As you know, I'm here tonight to give you our usual 2-week update on our plan. But as you know, our reopening plan has always been flexible. It's always been consistent. It's been collaborative. It's been based on health metrics that are available and become available each and every day. And it's a conservative model that allows for fluid movement, social distancing, and practicing health and safety protocols, as you've heard a lot about from our guest speakers tonight. I'd like to give a great big shout out to everyone, parents, teachers, students, faculty, staff, and district administration for their ongoing efforts in social distancing, mask wearing, which hasn't been easy, and practicing health and safety protocols both in schools, in every classroom, and on the buses. We truly feel that these measures have assisted us in keeping our classroom and school numbers low and our students and staff safe. As we have moved through the semester, we have added additional daily data that is specific to individual students, staff, and schools, as well as our operational departments. This data is collected daily and, in some cases, according to Ms. Santa Maria, minute by minute. And it's posted on our district webpage, and it's our district and school level dashboard. We use this data in conjunction with the county-wide data to help make decisions about our instructional model. The data and information reflected on our dashboard serves as evidence that what we are currently doing is working today to help keep our school-based numbers as low as they are. Bringing in and monitoring all available data has allowed us to make sound decisions and have further corroborated our decision to remain in the hybrid model. We can monitor individual school and staff numbers relative to positive cases and quarantined cases and make decisions on individual class and/or school basis without having to return to a full district e-learning situation, which is where we definitely do not want to go. We want to continue moving toward the other end of the spectrum. Another data point that we continue to monitor is our individual zip code data. As you probably are aware, we have 6 different zip codes that feed into our school district. Of those 6 different zip codes, only 2 are pure feeders into our district. And the data indicates that the number of positive cases are higher in these 2 zip codes than the others. However, data pulled by the zip codes that feed into our district, even though they are higher than our numbers in our schools and our departments, and we take this into consideration. As Mr. Pye just said, we participate in bi-weekly meetings with 8 other superintendents in our region to update one another as to where they are with their plans, what constraints they are facing, and how they are handling various issues that arrive. As of today, all but 2 of these districts remain in the hybrid instructional model. We also monitor all districts and their instructional models in all counties in South Carolina weekly. As of today, out of the 79 districts, there are 20 that are face-to-face at all levels, K through 12. There are 2 that are face-to-face 4 days a week. 33 remain hybrid at all levels, K through 12. 23 are split between a face-to-face model and a hybrid model, which is typically based on the grade level bands, much like what we are doing with our elementary and special education populations and our middle and high schools. 1 county is hybrid 1 day a week at the pre-K through 2nd grade level and virtual all other days in all other levels. Utilizing all of this data and continuing to monitor as we return from the upcoming holidays, we have decided that we will return on November 30th in our current hybrid instructional model and will continue through the winter holidays. This by no means should signal that we are not continuing to work feverishly towards transitioning to a face-to-face instruction for all as soon as it is safe to do so, and as soon as we have more mechanisms in place to keep our students and staff safe. For example, one of the things that we have been working hard to do is installing plexiglass in all of our schools, beginning with elementary. The plexiglass partition installation in our elementary schools will be completed the week of November 30th, hopefully, if the company cooperates, with middle school and high schools to follow soon thereafter. We still have to understand that bringing back all of our students at any level will compromise our social distancing protocols. We have reconvened the various reopening task force members to provide an update and to gather their thoughts about what is going well, what we need to tweak, and their suggestions for moving forward. We continue to gather their input so that we can share this information with our 62-member district administration team. A compilation of this information will be a part of our report to you in the coming weeks. We will be having our large 62-member district administrator meeting on December 1st, where we will be, as we have done since our original plan was formulated, getting input from our school administrators who have gotten input from their faculties and constituents. The administrators have been actively planning for months, really since the beginning of the summer, for the return of students, and will be bringing these plans to discuss them in detail. Items such as classroom setups to accommodate all students, social distancing, can we do it? How will it look, especially during transition times between classes and lunch? The processes and protocols for all activities and student organizations that will need to be in place, because once we bring everyone back face to face, everyone will want to participate in every activity that they're used to participating in a normal world. At this meeting, we will be finalizing our plans for a transition to face-to-face instruction for all levels. A detailed update on these proposed plans will be presented at our December 14th board meeting. If the data would support our return to expanded face-to-face instruction, we would like to begin this transition with our elementary students, maybe as early as January, and then middle and high school students perhaps around the beginning of second semester, a natural transition for these schedules. This will allow us ample time to work with families who wish, based on the instructional model shift, to transfer either out of or into the virtual academy. We need this time in order to plan for teacher allocations, teacher schedule adjustments, student schedule adjustments, which also could mean the introduction of a new teacher. We need to make sure that we have enough staff in each model to adequately staff each one so that no teacher's class size are out of line or so that they don't have to do two models at the same time. This is a major component of our transition plan. We can't overstate that we are very dependent on knowing the wishes of our families so that we can make appropriate staffing changes. It will be a major Herculean job to reschedule teachers and reschedule students, sometimes for the third time. Therefore, we will need definite commitments by the established deadlines, and all of this will be communicated as the transitional plan is finalized. Transportation is also an issue, but one that we'll be able to overcome. Buses continue to be mandated by the Department of Education at a 66 ridership capacity. We have to keep that in mind. Bell schedules, we will remain on the same bell schedules as we are now so that we can continue to provide extra time between routes to practice cleaning and sanitizing protocols. As we have moved from e-learning to our current model, we know that there have been hardships on many sides of the equation. We have heard from many people on all sides of the equation, and there is no magic bullet. As we continue to strive to move our district toward full face-to-face instruction, we will do so keeping the health and safety of all of our students, staff, and community in mind. We would like to thank everyone for their ongoing support and ongoing patience. In conclusion, I'd like to share a letter that we recently received from a grandmother sharing her thoughts about our current instructional model. I am writing to thank you for putting the health and welfare of students and staff as your top priority in deciding school attendance. Thank you for continuing the hybrid instructional model and not pushing full face-to-face instruction for middle and high school students. I've been watching the incidence of COVID-19 rise steadily, and especially in DHEC's COVID-19 cases associated with staff and students, which is published twice a week. In 2 months, 1,926 students and 825 staff have gotten this disease. This is frightening. I am a grandparent whose 3 grandsons have had a wonderful education in Dorchester District 2. All 3 attend high school, 2 virtually with DD2 teachers, and 1 who has chosen the hybrid. All have straight A's at this first quarter. The models work. As a retired teacher, I have praised you and your commitment to safety to others back home. Thank you again. Please continue to put safety first. And that concludes my report.
2 things I want to make sure we get clarification on. Number 1 is for the folks who says, all right, if it's back to high, why are we not going back to e-learning? But you made that maybe very clear and concise, and you mentioned it.
Yes, sir.
But basically, what is the criteria that we're going to use from here on out? It's not back where we started, where it's going to go back and forth. We have a lot more data now, and it's so difficult to change these schedules, and we don't want to change them every week. That really messes kids up. Parents have sacrificed a lot with their jobs and babysitting to do something they don't want to do, and oftentimes, and every time we make the change that causes them to go back to babysitting issues and job issues, it only makes the case worse. So we would like to avoid that as a last resort, using it only when we watch the numbers. Individual students and teachers will be sent home if they've had contact with someone with COVID, or they have it, or they test positive, or they need to be quarantined. That's 14 days. If we have a class that has a certain number that indicates there's a problem within the class, the entire class will be sent home for 14 days. All of these people that have to learn e-learning is the only thing left to do. The teacher will continue teaching unless they have to be hospitalized or something, and the children who are able will continue to learn, but they are away from other kids and spreading it further according to the health standards. And then if we have a number of classes going down that's really affecting the entire movement of the school, then that one school could be put on e-learning, as Charleston did. They have a school on it now. It's been on it last week and again this week. I think it was their Orange Grove School,
yes, sir.
which is the top school in Charleston, is going through that right now. So we would then put the school, not the entire district. That would be wrong to make that kind of decision, affecting all those kids, upsetting all those lives if there's no problem. We watch on a continuous basis. There's at least 3 or 4 elementary schools that have had not one person with anything COVID related, quarantine, so nothing. So why would they be punished going backwards? If anything, we should be going forwards. Those are the schools that, that are really defying all the odds. And so we're looking to see what they're doing differently. It's working. But no schools had any number close. No school. A couple of high schools where there's been some over-socialization, perhaps, or contact with sports athletes, and their togetherness of practicing and playing might be some of the issues we have faced, but nowhere close to, and when you spread them out over the school, that's affecting any number of kids. And we've been very blessed that the cases that we keep up with, which is daily, everyone has to report it, and we cannot give out names. We've had some teachers and employees who want to know, why don't we get the names of people? That's a HIPAA and FERPA laws. We cannot discuss your personal business with other people. We can't do it. It's a law, and you're protected by that. So we can only say that we've had a situation within the school setting or whatever it might be, and you can see the numbers online. Well, we had a teacher recently tell me that we're not getting this information, and I know of at least 5 cases, one that's active now, and I went and checked. That school has had nothing all year, 0. So that's what rumor mills do sometimes. So we're not trying to base our decision on rumors. We're really looking concretely at that. And if we only have 1 or 2 schools, and they tend to be the ones that even veer up, are the older children, which the high schools are the ones. And I'm putting that because of the affiliation with the sports, perhaps, and where they're having outside gatherings and they're bringing it into the school setting. But our social distancing, I have to praise our teachers and principals, it's over the top. I never dreamed that we would have kindergartners wearing any mask a half a day. And they're doing it, and they've gotten so used to it, it's like they're playing, and that's their mask. They're just having a good time, and it's no longer something that you have to mess with employees the same way. So it's been really wonderful to see that, the 6 feet apart. You go into school, you see the line where they're going to the restroom or wherever she's taking them, or to the buses in the afternoon. They have the markers on the floor, and each child is waiting till the next one moves, and then they move. It's very methodical, and it's just wonderful to see our kids taking that kind of responsibility. And as we visit the classrooms to see the efficiency of the teachers, as I talk to the K-5 teachers, whether they want to do this or not, and they only gained a little bit of time, it's the time they gained was uninterrupted instruction for 5 days, in which the children could have a rest period. In other words, you're for 3 hours, you're wearing them out. Then you can let them go. Keeping them 6 and 7 hours at kindergarten is not, I don't care how long you're there, it's not going to work. And so that has proven to be a bigger success, teaching teachers how to be more efficient with the time they have, because all of them are obsessed with teaching all the standards, getting everything in, and they're just looking for all kind of unique ways to squeeze it in half the time they used to have. So my hope is that when we go back to full time, that they'll be twice as good, because they're used to getting so much done in a short period of time. So there could be some good lessons learned out of this. And what was the other thing I said I was going to mention? First, it was to get back, if we closed to go back to e-learning. Okay, and also about moving forward. We will be sending something out to at least teachers and possibly parents next week. Is that what I gathered? And see, before the next board meeting, in other words, when we meet on the 11th, I don't want them to ask me, what about the survey you sent out? We didn't know anything about it. Because it sounds like we were going to tell them on the 11th all this stuff we're going to do. We're doing stuff now. We told you about the meeting, but the meeting is to bring together some of these pieces of information so we can start really making a serious plot to see if we have a situation we're looking for why nots rather than why. And I think that's how we'll have to look at it, and we want to be solution, not emotional. Let's bring a solution in. Let's talk about the what ifs, and let's look at the numbers as we have them, all the numbers available. And as usual, it'll probably be a conflict, but that's where as a group we have to decide what are we going to do as a group, and there's a power. So when people say, I made the decision, I make no final decision of this magnitude and will never make one. I made that very clear to you, all of you. My team makes the decision, and we don't look for a simple majority, but we look for a heavy majority wants to do it, that I'm going to back them 100%, and then I bring it to you. And if you can't support that as a board, then you will do like our neighboring counties. All the counties that do it face-to-face, that was not done by the administration. Their boards directed that after whatever they did, and that's fine with me. I have no issue with it. I'm responsible for reporting to you the conditions as we found it, as we discussed it. But everyone, when we meet, is bringing plans for a future face-to-face. It's not like whatever it can be. It's not we might do this. It's a dream. They really have had it since August. Our people are anxious to officially start school, and we're looking at things. And of course, I was in hopes of trying something, to be very honest with you, trying to be transparent, to be able tonight to say we could probably pull something off between now and Christmas. But it's with this spike that we just had, all this flurry of information about the holidays, we think it's a poor judgment in the middle of this to all of a sudden try to jump ahead to say 2 weeks, where we could get the 2 weeks plus the 2 weeks vacation, really getting 4 weeks out of 2. I just felt it made common sense, and so we did put a plug on that. But when we meet on the 2nd, who knows what we come up with, what we're looking at, and I'm not calling a special meeting. So whatever it takes. If I thought I would make in your day, and we would make in lots of people's days, we would be disappointing lots of people. It's not a right answer. It's not a wrong answer. Every family's experiencing this differently based on variables they have. I have some very poor, homeless people that have always struggled, and they're doing fine on this model, believe it or not. I've had some people who've done exceptional, and they have the means to buy have tutors and child care, and they've experienced difficulty. So it's very difficult to put everybody in the same basket. This pandemic has shaken people to their boots. People have lost their jobs. Some people have lost their lives, and people have lost their livelihoods as they're so disappointed and can't handle the psychological stuff that's come with this. Being a parent during the pandemic, a parent of school-age children, trying to manage a job, multiple jobs perhaps, just a lot on the plate. And I'm sorry for all of them. I don't have near that on my plate, and my plate's full. So I can't imagine theirs is not running over. So we want to be sympathetic to that and listen, and everything we get is important to us, but we have to look at the big scheme of things. How can the impact be the greatest impact for the majority of the people we're dealing with? Our teachers are willing to fight to the nth degree to help us, but they need to know that everything else has been exhausted. If we have to do something, they understand you have to do something. We're all human beings. But I feel that I need to respect them, because without them, I cannot have a school system. I don't care. Let 50 of them quit. There'll be no school. 50 teachers left Ashley Ridge tomorrow morning. There is no Ashley Ridge. We'll have to close the whole place down. Then there's no school. E-learning and no kind of school. And y'all will be on my case. What are we going to do? And I'm going to ask you right back, what are we going to do? Because the teachers are not going to work some of those conditions. So we got to find a way for people to have a compromise at least, that we feel this is the safest bet. The district is going all out to do this. There's a big thing on plexiglass in the high schools. They're going to knock them off. I personally don't think it's that valuable, I'll be honest with you. But I want to go on record that I'm trying everything. The governor and his test and all that stuff that's now optional, well, 1 in 50 is going to say, well, take the test, or what good is it? Everybody's running around with a high fever and won't be tested or anything. I mean, come on. When we give options, that's what you're going to get. And you're not going to be able to have the full security and safety that you want. So we don't want that in our model. We want something that we can say is concrete. You know the pluses, you know the minuses, and then we try to work together. Our principals have done so many wonderful things on the side. Some parents have called me about a situation, and I'm going, this can be fixed. If I was the principal, this wouldn't be happening in my school. Well, guess what? I called the principal, and it's not happening in their school. It's like, we've been working with this family for a long time, lots of stuff. Here's the real issue. So we still say, erase that. Let's see if we can't fix it. What can we do? I had heard this sob story about some little 5-year-old walking home with nobody at home and all this. And, of course, I went off the deep end when I got it through a fourth or fifth party. And so when I contacted the school, absolutely, that was not the case. The student in question wasn't 5. The student was not walking home. They didn't even ride a bus. They were virtual. But the problem was the child was home with an adult who didn't do anything to help the child. Completely ignored the child and said we're going to ignore the child. I can't fix that. I can't do anything about that. But I was willing to pay my personal self. I would have provided child care. Thank God that wasn't a true story. But how sad is the other story? So, you know, it's a team here. We're all, as I told in our workshop, this is a team. The parents, the community, and the school system. We're not going to all agree. And one thing is that we love the children. We want what's best for them. We just can't agree on the best. And that happens between spouses and a family. The parents don't always agree. And the children know it, and they take sometimes advantage of that. But, and then I worry about the poor children who have homeless situations, and their parents don't have the means to do any of the stuff I'm talking about. They don't have it. There's no place to hook a computer up to. There's no space to have for work. There's no place to sleep. There's no work. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Pye, does anybody have any questions or discussion at this time? What, Ms. Crosby?
Ms. Canarins, I'd like to thank you for all that you put together and all the information, the data. I appreciate all that you've done on that. Mr. Pye, I know you've probably lost count on how many times I've emailed you or texted you and said
3 times a day.
I'll do it 300. But the point is our elementary children are the first step. And I have asked and begged to please let them go back. Now, you always say we need a time frame for them to make the adjustments. All right? So I had been asking for weeks ago to please let our kids go back after Thanksgiving. They would have had time to make that adjustment. Now you're saying no, that we're going to go all the way through December. Well, come back on the 30th. That would be a time to make a transition. No, we're going to go into January. I mean, how many times are we going to do this?
Well, we haven't done it now because we've not been ready. The figures aren't right. They're ready for you, maybe. They're not ready for us. 62 people are not happy with the figures we're receiving to make that kind of decision. That's what we told everyone, and I've not changed anything that I've said. We're now looking at this going on forever. This could go on forever.
That's right.
And because of that, we have to have a plan of something maybe down the middle, if it at all possible. We can't just sit and wait for the stars to align. They may not. But we still have the same health conditions to worry about. We still have the education of the kids at heart. We still have the concerns of the families and their needs. All the things are still in the basket. There is no magic wand. I don't have one.
But we've been back in school basically 2 months.
Yes,
September.
8-9
all right.
weeks.
Well, you know, from October 20th to now. We've been back in school 2 months. We've been out of school since March. I know, I don't care how good a teacher you are, that you can't be getting everything to those children that they need. There's no way you can cover enough material in 2 hours and 45 minutes, take out 15 minutes of that for lunch, 2 hours and a half, and get them the material that they need to cover in a year. Remember, I've been there, done that. And I know that it takes every minute of every day that you have to get the information and the curriculum covered. Now, I'll say it right here on the air and everybody else. I know the numbers are up, and I don't doubt that. But the numbers still say that less than 1% of elementary children get this stuff. And I do not see a reason why elementary students cannot go back full-time. After Thanksgiving, it's certainly not going to happen now because a decision's been made by teachers, not by you, but by teachers.
Teachers didn't make the decision.
The teachers are guiding you, Mr.
They are
You told
not.
us that.
They guide me
You told
because
us
they're
that.
important. No, ma'am. My 62 administrators are guiding me
But
with
you
the
s-
health department, the health numbers, and hopefully some board members who also support
Well,
that. So I think there's enough there. But if I want to be guided by the teachers, there's no group I'd rather be guided by.
Well, what I'm saying, though, is that it's time that we listen to some parents and students and listen to what's best for our students. We've got to listen to your board. You need to listen to your parents. You need to listen to what other people are saying. And then, like you said, Mr. Pye, there's no right answer. I don't care how many scenarios you come up with.
I'm sorry I have failed you, Miss Crosby, but that's the best I can do, and I'm not changing my mind until I get some direction that my team, my teachers are ready to be Team Dorchester and move forward. I'm not going to do it to make you happy and flunder it all up and mess it up, and then you're going to say, well, I didn't make you do it. Well, I've done it. I'm not going to be pressured. I'm not going to make an emotional decision. That's not coming from me.
Then you don't need a board if you're going to listen to them instead of us. How many of our board members?
I'm here tonight.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow our our K through 5 students to go back full-time, well, he's already made the decision for now, after Christmas break.
Ms. Crosby has made a motion.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second by Ms. Ashley Wimberly.
Can you
Is there?
restate that? Can you restate the motion, please?
I would like to make a motion that K through 5 students be allowed to return to school full-time after the Christmas break. Whatever date that is,
And
January.
just to clarify the wording there, you want to say be allowed, or are you mandating that they go back in that time period?
We don't
it's
make
very-
mandates.
As a board, we mandate. So
But-
are you
no.
mandating or are you allowing? I just want to be very
That
clear
Mr.
on your
Pye,
wording.
well, Justin, the point I'm making, you know where I'm coming from, that K-5 students go back full-time.
Just make the motion that you wish to make, an official motion. Would you
I
restate
make
that?
a motion that K-5 students go back to school full-time after Christmas break.
Okay. And we have a second by Ms. Ashley Wimberly, and now we're opening it up for discussion.
So I have a question. If, with the plexiglass in place, can we effectively social distance in our elementary schools?
That was the decision that was going to be made on December 1st, as each principal brings their floor plan, their messages, and hopefully this company has finally completed it, and we've rearranged it for the third time, that we're satisfied, and the classes that topple over 22, 24, 25 have a place for those students, like the libraries turning into 2 classrooms, 1 on each end, that kind of thing. And that's what we were hoping to have ironed out and bring to you on the 11th as the plan that we would do on January the 2nd, which is exactly what Ms. Crosby's motion is. Instead, she wants the decision made tonight. I gather by the motion, we were going to either bring it on the 11th or the board could make it on the 11th. That was our suggestion and what Ms.
So we're not sure yet. I guess the answer is we don't know if we can
No,
effectively.
but we are really
social
working hard
distance.
towards that, and I think that the principals know that, and they're trying to search everything, and they're going to let me know by school what the problem is, so we can see at the district level, can we solve their problem to move them into that, what we think a safe zone to do this. Because the numbers are low within the schools, elementary in particular, and the 99, all this stuff, all those things are in the play of that even though these other numbers are high, if you look at everything that's available that we didn't start using it does give us an opportunity to say if the plexiglass is in place, we continue to wear the mask, we continue to serve lunch in the rooms, and we don't have art teachers taking children down the halls for art. That sounds stupid. They're playing together on the playground, and a lot of parents want all this, but those are the things we would have to try to curb in order to keep the children spaced apart. And I think, and my gut feeling is we have nothing to show now that says it wouldn't work.
And that's with with the plexiglass in place, it's 3 feet instead of 6 per the CDC, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right, so that's why we'd be able to more effectively, or to effectively social distance, because of that changes.
That's exactly right.
My justification being that how long they have been out of school. After Christmas, you're running up on March again where we started last year. The
But we're
time
saying
when
we would
have been
start
out
on
of
January
school,
2nd. We're saying the same thing you're saying.
these kids are losing ground educationally. They're not getting all the curriculum in, and it's not the teacher's fault. They can't do but so much in a 2-hour period.
I think my opinion is, I think what both of you are saying is exactly the same thing. The only thing is Mr. Pye is wanting to get the additional information so that he can give you that, that information at the next board meeting to start right after the Christmas break with the elementary going back face to face. My personal opinion on that, as a part of this discussion, is that that will also give us the opportunity to make it through the Thanksgiving break to see if it will spike any because of the families gathering at Thanksgiving break. So we'll be able to see if the holidays are going to cause a spike, and we'll be able to have all of that information to go in there as well. So if we're only delaying it 2 weeks, but the starting time is going to remain the same, to me it makes sense to wait the additional 2 weeks to make the final decision. Just my personal opinion.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes, and I agree, too, that there's so much information coming on December 2nd for this group of 62 folks that will get together that are going to analyze and study all the data, and then that information is going to be disseminated to us at our December 11th meeting.
Or sooner.
Or sooner. I can't remember exactly what day Christmas break, or winter break, excuse me, starts. 18th. Okay, so I understand where you're coming from, Ms. Crosby. We've listened to it repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, and I don't think anybody disagrees with you about the students are not where they need to be. Some students are not where they need to be. We certainly appreciate your passion for that, but I think that the motion that was made and seconded is unfounded based upon the information that we anticipate getting in a couple of weeks. Mr. Pye specifically said earlier this evening they're getting the group back together, the 62 folks, and we're going to say, nah, let's go ahead and do it now. That's nonsensical in my opinion. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. I do have 2 quick questions, if I can remember them. One, when we do the numbers, we are going to do it within our district, not within the county.
All of the above. We're going to do a spreadsheet showing everything to see that. I look for those 2 not to match, but how wonderful would it be if it dropped back to medium, and it very well could. How easy that would make that look and methodical and standard. But if not, the other numbers would certainly carry more weight, because then we'd be like on our 10th and 11th week with numbers not escalating, even though we had the Labor Day numbers, and then we have now Thanksgiving. Of course, they're now predicting Christmas, it'll be Easter, it'll be everything all through. But that's what I'm saying. At some point in time, when do we think we can make that plunge? We're also watching Charleston and Berkeley, especially Charleston, putting more kids back in the classroom. They're not where they say they are. They might be putting 5,000 a day, a minute. They still got thousands not there face-to-face, and so their numbers are staying low in most of the schools. We're interested in the schools that are crowded like Wando. What's happening in those schools? West Ashley, they're large schools, large numbers of kids. How big are their classes, and how are they managing this? And their daily rates, we're getting all that now. How are their rates holding up? Because our rates are good because of social distancing. if their social distancing that I know is not near as good, and they have many more kids, then if their numbers are similar to ours, then I think that's worth looking at.
Okay, then the other thing is, you had mentioned there was a task force, a COVID task force. Would they also be included in that December meeting with the
No,
62
you couldn't
people?
we gotta meet this biggest place I got. I can't get more
Okay.
than 62 in a room.
Well, would you meet with them prior to that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with bringing them back in, but again, I think that if the group makes the decision, it'll be just a matter of asking, what are your feelings on this? If we move to this, what do you think about it? And then let them tell us they're gonna move to another district, homeschool, or whatever they're gonna do. I don't know what they would say. You know, I know they'll either be supportive or against it, and we'll be back to that half and half stuff that becomes emotional, and it's hard to tell because everybody sees it from a different point of view.
Mr. Pye, remember now, I'm saying elementary.
That's what we're saying too.
I know, but you're talking about like Wando and all those.
But I'm still checking all of them because
But I mean, high schools, we know that
Well, the high schools would be, the semester break would be exactly 4 weeks after the semester, after the thing. So we would then have a month to do middle and high school. And hopefully, then we would definitely have the Christmas numbers in. Definitely, we would have a lot more information. And now we've got over 2 months, hopefully, to get numbers to go back. So it would be logically the semester break. If you pull them out 2 or 3 weeks before the semester break, you're disrupting these kids. And plus, the virtual school, if we allow hundreds to leave and hundreds to come back, children, some of you who have children in the school system, you may not, when we go face-to-face, your children may not have their current teachers. We like to think so, but we got to match the kids with the teachers to make the numbers right. So based on how the teachers choose they want to do, will be how many teachers we have available to allow us to do. And that'll be very important to that decision, and I think we're probably okay. Elementary is just, my concern is still the middle school. If we have many teachers to leave, or many to not want to change, that could be a problem. I look for less students at the high school and middle to change from the virtual school than maybe elementary. But we're hopeful.
Can you explain again, Mr. Pye, so the plan as of right now is that you're going to meet with your cabinet, your principals, and then at the December 14th board meeting, you're going to present.
At the last date, if we've got something, that's when we're going to present it, or we'll just tell you we have nothing to present. That's the whole thing. No more back and forth, because you'll be expecting that, and everybody should know by that time.
So at that point, if the plan isn't in place to go back, we still could make a motion at that point.
Oh, yes, and then.
To do something.
That's exactly right. You're still in the driver's seat. You see what I'm
It's
saying?
not
Either way.
Right. Well, so what I'm asking is, so you're asking for time to come up with the plan, to present it to us, showing
We
us how
have
we
the
can-
plan. We're just trying to verify it.
Okay.
We've had the plan. It's just, we're trying to verify it, and it's looking good 1 minute it doesn't look good, but I
Because when
think
y'all
it's
talk
doable.
about the numbers going back up, are you talking about within our schools, or
It
do
could
you
go
mean
either
our
way.
community?
If they're saying what's going to happen at Thanksgiving, we should see that spike even in the
In
schools.
the schools.
But it'll have to be a pretty big spike, because we haven't
Right.
seen it yet.
Will you talk just for a second about the risk ratio and what we discussed in our meeting, and how our schools, well, just our schools are safe, how you're monitoring what's happening in our schools with the county and the state, and how that's part of your reason for staying.
That's
For
correct.
not going backwards.
We're
that
using
risk
state
ratio.
numbers, we're using county numbers, zip code numbers, and then we're using the school numbers themselves, and then
So
individual.
comparatively, the risk ratio is showing that our students are safer in the schools right now than what's happening within our
Yes.
county and our state.
That's correct.
So that's-
You're safer
that's
inside our
fueling-
schoolhouses
Right.
than you are in the community.
And that's fueling your reason for not moving backwards.
Definitely, that's the reason. Thank you for bringing that, because I'm still worried about that, because there's a lot of
Yes,
people
well,
out there
that's it,
wanting to
right.
move backwards, and I understand that, because they're very
But-
fearful of the health conditions.
Right.
So that's good that we remind them.
So-
that We would then do that on a case-by-case,
Mm-hmm.
like the whole class would be on it for 2 weeks, so nobody's losing.
Right.
But it's no sense the whole school, if all the problems are in one class or 2 classes, then we deal with them and not the entire building.
So after at that next meeting, we could see data showing that risk ratio, even after the holidays, continues to show that our
That's
schools
correct.
are the safest
Right.
place
We're
compared
going
to
to spreadsheet
compared
you
to
to
our county
death,
or-
and we'll mark them on the sheet and show you the arrows up, arrows even, arrows down into the conversation.
Right.
Here's how it looks, and based on that,
Right.
we felt like the school principals, working with their faculties, feel this is very doable, and we're willing to try to pull this off, because here's our challenges, and we're going to try to make that work.
Right. I do think it's important that we look to putting elementary back face-to-face, full-time after Christmas break. But I also think it's important that we have the data to show this community, our families, and our teachers that it's safe to do so. So I'd
you
like
nailed
for
it.
you to have that opportunity to present that. I think that's important.
Yes,
So,
you nailed it. That's
Well,
exactly
COVID-
where we are.
I don't
And
believe COVID's going to go away for a long time.
No, and I'm not saying it is, and I don't think our county and state numbers will change, but what I'm saying is Mr. Pye can show the community, our teachers and our families, that our schools are still safe and that he can keep them safe, even with those numbers in our county and state continuing to rise. And that's what I'd like to see us present so that we have buy-in. Yes, I know they are, but I want us to, I
A lot
want
of
him to
people
be
out there
able to
don't
show
think they are.
everyone that, because not everyone feels that way. And
Not
I
everybody
respect
feels
that.
they're going to be safe when we go
Right,
face to
and
face,
I want
that
him
we're
to
going to
have the
throw everything to the
opportunity
wind.
to show everyone that it is safe. That's what I think he should have that opportunity. I think that's important. I still think we could have our kids back, our elementary students back on the same date that you're saying, but this way, we're doing it in a way that shows people that it's safe to do so, and that's important. I want them to feel safe. I want them there, but I want them to feel safe. Our families, our teachers, and our students.
Ms. Hughes?
And each principal would have met with their staff individually, groups, grade levels or something, but by that time, that's why we were saying on the 2nd, because that only gives us, what, one day, Monday, and of course, whatever they do tomorrow
Right.
is it.
And I agree, it's the part of your plan about reopening the virtual academy is just as important as well.
That's
That way
a
if
major problem
Sure,
for us.
and if people don't feel that it's safe, they have that opportunity, yeah.
Ms. Hughes?
That's, Ashley, thank you very much, because that is exactly what I think all 7 of us board members have been saying for the last 2 months.
It has.
We all feel that way. We all think that we would love to have seen them back in the schools a month ago. But Mr. Pye has been gathering data, and we knew the holidays were coming up. We knew that that's where the spike was going to occur. That's what we've been told, and we know that when big numbers gather together, and this is family time, and when that happens, that the possibility is a much greater for it to spike. So I think this is the perfect plan for us to look at this first holiday and plan and look forward to January 2nd, going back full day face-to-face in our elementary schools, and then start making the plan or start showing our community that we're also working towards middle and high school doing the same thing by possibly putting them in a plan such as what we now have our elementary students in, and gradually working our way into that. And I think, like I said, we've all said that. We're all on that same page. We agree with you, Ms. Crosby. We agree with you, Ashley, and there's nothing more that any of us want.
Well,
But we
I
wanna
might
give you
want to
that
add another
opportunity.
thing, because I'm concerned about the date of the 11th and the date of the 14th and all those dates, and I'm right now focused on after the 2nd, those dates could be moving targets. I would like, if we have any kind of consensus, even to the point of telling you, we don't feel comfortable doing anything when we come back first semester. It's not there. I would like a workshop to go through exactly, no song and dance, just go through the same thing we went through with every number to show you how it was weighted, talked about the pros and cons. You ask the questions. Then at the end of the day, you don't vote at a workshop. Then you already know on the 14th, you have a chance to understand it. And it's either we're announcing good news on the 11th and you don't have to worry about the 14th, or it's not what we wanted to hear. We've heard it, and we still got some issues. You've got a few days to dissect it, ask some more questions, and come loaded on the 14th with we've heard it all, we've done it all, we see it, but we just feel compelled that this is the time to do this. And that's the way it is. I told you all along it will happen. We're not trying to put it on you. We want you to have a full understanding, and none of you have the same perspective that we have. None have the same perspective you have. It's just, it needs to be a discussion of what we find, what the principals bring to us from their teachers and what their sites will help us to chart how the district is prepared. And if we're 90% ready, then that's one thing. If we're only 30% ready, that's another. Then we do the same thing when we talk to you, and then you have to decide, we agree with you, we don't like it, but we see it, and it's what it is. Unfortunately, these numbers spike through the roof, and we're very disappointed, but we see that, and we appreciate all you did. Or we see it, but it's so close, and it didn't spike, but just that little bit in the worst conditions all, and, and based on what you told us, is elementary doable or not? And we came prepared we were preparing for tonight to tell you it was doable. Even before Christmas, I wanted so bad to do that, but it's just not.
Well, I think the workshop is a great idea. Can I ask, as part of that, could we see some of the results from the first quarter report cards? Is that possible?
Yes,
I think
ma'am.
that would be important.
I have all of that. I think Lori Estep's been out ill for about a week, and I've not talked with her, but Ms.
Well,
Ratcliffe.
I think, I'm saying at the workshop, that would be great information in helping us,
We got it. We have it all for every school.
Okay, that, and I also think, since we're talking about data, I know you mentioned surveys. I think having some survey results would be important too.
Well, I think the survey now is, if we go back on the hybrid, I don't think it's a matter of do you want to go back. I think that we're past that question. I think the question is, if in the event that we can pull this off immediately after Christmas for elementary and perhaps the semester for the high school and middle, we're looking at that. It's flexible. We might have to change it. How do you, would you agree to do that? And would you want to keep your child in the eventual face-to-face? Or you prefer the virtual academy? Same thing with virtual academy now that we're going face-to-face. And that was the reason you did, was to get out of Dodge. Well, now you get back in. We then will have to look at those numbers, and I'm expecting large numbers. But you know what?
What about a teacher survey as well?
Oh, that's first, before we have the...
Can we make the teacher survey anonymous? Is that possible?
Yes, well, it'll have to be at first, but eventually we have to know, because we're keeping them in their school. We promised the teachers to keep them in their grades and their school and those kinds of things. So, no, I'm going to have to know it, but it's not, no.
I'm just trying to get information to help us gauge, help us make our decision, things that I think would be important.
Right, but again, I would hate that teachers would not want to, how can they protect themselves if they just say, I want to go back, and we don't know, it could be all high school teachers and no elementary teachers. And then I've got a whole, they have to identify themselves in some way. I don't care about their name, but they could say, I'm third grade, of course, I guess if you want to track it, you could. I'm a third grade virtual academy teacher, and I would like to go back to the face-to-face model, or vice versa. If we go back that early, I feel unsafe. I would like to now transfer to the academy, and we'll try to do the switch in there, and then we switch the students to where we have openings.
Ashley, what you were saying about the grades, that's not going to be a definite answer, because it's not covering all the curriculum, especially in elementary. Because they weren't able to give them grades for science and social studies, things like that, because they've only been teaching reading and math. So that's...
They have grades for science and social studies.
Yeah.
They have grades, I mean, my children all got report cards, and they have grades for everything.
But were they taught everything?
Well, I mean...
See, there you go. They weren't taught everything, because the teachers don't have time in 2 hours to do it.
But they do have grades. They have
a grade from out of the...
I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Excuse me, people. I need to call for the vote at this time, unless you want to retract the vote.
I still have some discussion.
Okay, but...
Just to interject a little bit, the problem is you've got some differing stories there, because I've got on one hand a board member saying they're not teaching the curriculum, I don't know what they're doing, they shouldn't have grades. But then I've got teachers in the classroom, in the field, that have spoken here tonight saying we are doing a fantastic job. We are able to teach more this year than we've ever been able to teach. So again, I say that just to interject and try to reconcile that as a board member. What I think I want to say, I think we've got to be careful that we don't make decisions based on emotion. It is human nature. I understand it. Everybody wants to get back to normal. Everybody wants to press the fast forward button to get out of this thing and be as normal as humanly possible. I get it. I'm right there with you. If I could press the Staples easy button and get out of this thing, I would do it in a heartbeat. But as a board, right, I think we've got to be better than that. We've got to govern on logic and data, like Ms. Wimberly is saying, what Mr. Pye is saying. We have got to go down that road. I don't think we have all of that data tonight. And so I feel like we're trying to press the fast forward button, telling the district to do something when we don't exactly know the ramifications of that. So the last point I would make, the balancing act, right, because we've heard it from all sides. We're jeopardizing the education of our kids. That's one argument that we hear. But then we are potentially jeopardizing the safety and health of our kids, right? The problem there is, without the safety and health, guess what? The education doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We have no one to educate. If we don't have safety and health first and foremost, that education stuff doesn't matter. So that's my 2 cents. I would make a motion that we table this particular motion on the floor. I'd like to table this motion until our next board meeting, at which point we can get more data and then follow through with a final decision.
But we have to vote on the first one first.
We have to vote on the tabling of that motion.
I thought
If
Ms.
they
Canaris gave
table-
us all the data.
You're right, if you would like to table that motion right now.
It
I'm
is
saying,
up
though,
to
he was talking
I
about the
make
data.
a-
We've already got, she's given us the
I
data.
would like to make a motion that we table the motion on the floor until our next board meeting, at which point we have the data. That motion needs a second, and that becomes the main
Okay.
motion on the floor.
Okay, and that part is correct, okay. So we have a motion to table it until the next board meeting by Mr. Farnsworth, and Mr. Mitchum has seconded. Is there any discussion about that? All those in favor of tabling it, please raise your hand. Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and those opposed, please raise your hand. And are you abstaining? And one abstention. Okay, then we will table it until the next board meeting. Thank you. Now let's move forward to our next would be the finance report. Ms. Tina Meunier, would you come forward with that?
Good evening, Chairwoman Robinson, board members, and Mr. Pye. Change gears for a little bit here. Our finance team has prepared for you our financial report as of September 30th, 2020. As you can see, our assets at that time were $30,893,602. In comparison with our September 2019 assets, we are $3.5 million higher, which is reflective of the savings that we had as of the end of last year, since we were closed down for about 3 months. You can also see that as our difference of our fund balance from the beginning of the year last year to this year. So while the numbers are higher as our overall assets, I just wanted to point out that some of the numbers are in different categories this year as compared to last year. So at September 30th, we had some amounts that were due from other funds. So we were able to use some of our extra cash savings, excuse me, to pay for our spending for our CARES allocation that we received from the state. We had to spend the money, and then we had to request a reimbursement. We also did the same thing for our student devices when we got the loan. Then we had to request the reimbursement. So that's what the $11.8 million is this year, as compared to how it was so low last year. Our liabilities are in line with prior year. So then again, our fund balance shows that we were higher in our beginning of the year this year versus last year. And again, just to keep in mind that our fund balance will continue to decline until December or January, when we get our influx of our local tax revenues. So on the next page, you'll see our revenues and expenditures. And again, as Mr. Farnsworth pointed out, this is our general fund, which is our operating fund. So you can see our total revenues for the 2021 year We budgeted $216,784,405, and as of the end of September, we were at $29 million, which is right along lines as last year. And our expenditures are at $37 million, which is just a tad less than where we were last year. And that's because we started school later this year than last year. Well, the general fund looks pretty much the same as last year. When you flip over to our food service fund, that was a little different. This year, in our September 2020 figures, we are not carrying the debt that we had from prior year. As we entered into our contract with Sodexo, we wanted to have a clean slate, so the general fund cleaned everything up, so we're not carrying the debt or the negative beginning of the year fund balance.
Ms. Meunier, how is that going with Sodexo? How are we doing financially, even though we've got the clean slate, like you said?
So on the last page, you'll see our revenues and expenditures through the end of September. We didn't have a lot of activity. We didn't have a lot of students. We didn't have a lot of, we just weren't in school. The students weren't in school. We've been meeting with Sodexo. Michael, our manager, regional manager is here with Sodexo. We met with him several times. And we're working with them to increase the participation. And then you can see where some of the expenditures are, we only have to account for some expenditures on our books, and they account for most everything on theirs. But we're still under our contract, still accounting for some on ours. So we're working with them. The State Department has allotted some additional funding, so we're working with Sodexo to allow them some additional funding because their expenditures are higher as well.
Can I ask a quick question just on that food service note?
Yes.
So the expenditure as far as the actual contract that goes to Sodexo?
So we have a timing difference. So you won't see the invoice for Sodexo on this one. It comes in October for September.
Gotcha.
So
Will
we're
there
a month
be,
off.
I'm assuming there will be, is there going to be a separate line item expenditure for
Yes,
that?
under our purchase services line item. So that is where we will see most of the money, most of our expenditures will be accounted for in that line item. So since we're a month off from getting the revenues and the expenditures, neither
Gotcha.
one of those are reflected here in this statement.
Gotcha, thank you.
We should pretty much be even. That's the whole reason we wanted to go into the contract with Sodexo. Unfortunately, costs have just gone up so much, and again, we're trying to work with them. We're trying to work with getting some CARES funding from the state so that we can kind of bear the burden together.
Now, are we feeding children through December 31st with federal funds? Has it been extended?
Yes, actually, the waiver has been extended through until June 30th, or, as Julie likes to remind us, until the funds run out.
Okay,
So
that's
we are
good.
still able to do that. And Sodexo, as I said, we've been working with them. They are working to get the participation up. They're doing some advertising with the Virtual Academy students so that they'll be able to take part in this even more, so we can feed more students.
Question, how are those kids going to get their food during Christmas break?
That is a question I don't know the answer to. Are we doing anything?
Typically, in the past, we have not provided food.
Well, she said through the 30th.
The waiver was extended past December 31st until June 30th of 2021, to where all students can eat for free.
Okay, so it sounded like we were going to feed them during that Christmas break.
Okay, I apologize, I didn't mean to imply that. I was just talking about the waiver
Okay, all right.
that it extended
Okay,
past
just wanted to be
December
clear.
31st.
Thank you.
So you said you think the participation is low just because kids haven't been in school as much? Is that the only reason? We don't think there are other factors in that?
That's what we're thinking, yes. Maybe when they come back soon in January, we can have more participation.
Because I know it does seem like community-wide, there is an issue with people not having enough food. I just know that from my involvement in other organizations. So it's surprising to me that we haven't had more participation, considering the fact, especially it's covered, paid for.
Right, we have marketed, we have advertised to let them know that we have food available for them. They can come and pick it up for free.
So I was actually going to ask something on a similar line to that, and I apologize because I know we're bringing you in on the financial report. What, the reimbursements that you're getting right now, so the CARES Act reimbursements, is that, am I saying that right? Yes. Is that, I guess what my question is, the food quality, is it the same as what they would see during a non-pandemic year, what we have right now?
The quality of the items are the same as you would have. What you're missing is the variety. You have one menu for each school level per day, not 3, 4, 5, or 6 things to choose from.
Based on the reimbursement, so the federal government...
Not based on reimbursements, based on being in a hybrid model and having to deliver meals 4, 5, and 6 times a day. We spend the majority of our time hauling food around and the very small amount of time actually preparing food. So we're in a very upside-down situation from what the ladies predominantly are used to doing.
Sure. Yeah, so and that might answer some of the participation, because if I've got 3 or 4 menu choices...
Well, and I think also a part of the problem is the fact that they can't get here to get it, and we obviously can't go house to house and deliver. So I think that's part of the problem too, with people not being able to take advantage, even though it's a situation where it's paid for. So.
Right, I agree, and I think that's a valid concern that we should, we acknowledge and recognize, and especially all this other stuff we're discussing too. I do think that's probably the case for many of these kids. Even if it's free, it may not be available, they may not have access to it.
Okay, thank you. The other portion that's in your report for financial statements this month is the school activity fund balances, and they're all pretty much in line with, as we would expect. They receive their student registration fees for their portion at the school level. Some of them have collected for, while they're not going on field trips, they're hopeful to do some activities, so they have collected some monies. I did want to point out one that looks a little bit awkward. I just wanted to go ahead and explain it for Somerville High School. There was a reclassification of an account number that was posted to the general fund rather than to their school fund. So that's why it looks a little higher there than typical. But everything else is in line. That's all that I have. What kind of questions do you have?
I'll make a motion to accept Ms. Megnier's presentation as information only.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
Made by Mr. Farnsworth, seconded by Ms. Hughes. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, it is unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And now we'll hear from our, from Tony Souls, our facilities director.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Pye. You have in your package the entire facilities report. A couple of highlights. The district office parking. We've been working with the civil engineers on that. We're waiting some final design drawings from them. The next steps are the MS4. That would be the project permits for everything to get done, and OSF design approval. And right now we're currently on track to put this thing out to bid early January. So hopefully everything will coincide where everything is complete around the same time and we can just cut the ribbon and go to work. At the district office renovation, the brick masonry is on the exterior of the elevator now, and that I'm really amazed at the job that the architects did to match that brick to the original brick on that building. It looks fantastic. The pipe installation, they're continuing on with that. One of the major undertakings, a lot of the windows didn't have steel lintels in it or even concrete lintels. And I think there were 12 windows that didn't have those lintels in there, actually pouring concrete lintels and putting some steel in there. They're going on with that. And in other areas, they're doing some gypboard installation, priming that gypboard and getting ready for everything. And and the site work is continuing, and they're getting close to having all the drainage and the water lines run on all that. And that is about everything I have. Any questions on that before I turn it over to Mr. Boss with the middle school update?
All the problems that we found, and we've had all the delays because of under the building issues. From the latest reports I read, we have resolved what the issues are. work is now underway. Is that correct? We're not waiting any longer? They've
We're
started?
we're not waiting any longer. We've got, progress is being made under that building. All the issues have been identified, and we're getting the over excavation of the footers that are under the building where we had some problems with the soil down there, and some other areas where they're starting their encapsulation and pouring concrete. Hopefully, I don't think they're gonna pour concrete this week because it's a shortened week, but they will definitely have those prepared and ready to pour the first week of December, or the week of the 30th. So when that gets done, it'll pop up out of the ground in that front wing and the second wing. And
We can't do anything on the walls or any of the supports because the footings need to be there to hold the building up, and even the second floor. So we've been working on the second floor and the wings, but we can't do anything on the front side there, so in front of the auditorium, and it's literally a hole in you walk in, there's no floor. So it makes it very difficult for them to get anything done, but, so we're estimating maybe 4 weeks and they're out of, under the building, or sooner?
hopefully by the first of the year, we won't even have to have this conversation anymore. Hopefully by the first of the year, they're gonna be all on the interior and going just as hard as they can go to get everything finished that we talked about. That was in the original scope of the project. All this extra stuff that we ran into along the way, hopefully will be a bad memory.
Well, is it safe to say that if it's something bad, we would have found it out by now?
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
the
sir.
prodding we've done, as long as we've been
yes,
in
sir. We've
there,
got-
it should be, so all issues should be known, and we should be back on course.
All issues should be done. We've had people going from one end of that building on the dirt under there from one side to the other, and unearthed all the skeletons we can find.
And there was a lot of them.
Mr. Pye, the boardroom will be on the stage?
Yes.
That's going to be considered the boardroom, right?
The boardroom's behind the stage, complete room.
But the
Executive session,
the-
restrooms and things, and on the front, the dais to be across either on the stage or right in front of it. We hadn't decided. But we got room to do it either way.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember. Okay.
Because we want to fix it so you can see the television monitors. The audience can see their monitor, you can see the monitor, but then we're thinking about if we have to pull a screen down for some presentation, how do we do that? It'd be easier for you to be down there, look around, just turn your chair around, but if you're up on the stage, you have to get off the stage, and that's too much movement. It'll slow the meeting down, so that's what we think will be efficient. I guess if we get close to it, we can have a little pre-meeting. I can call y'all over there to give you a tour and let y'all vote on how you want it. I'll give you that. This is your decision. You want to sit there, here, you want to be hanging from the ceiling, what would you like?
I don't think we care.
Not in, thank goodness, the auditorium seems to be pretty good.
Yes, sir.
I think they fixed it some years ago.
Thank you very
Any other
much.
questions for me?
Any more? Mr.
Don
Ross?
Boss has an update on the new middle school.
On the new school, okay? Oh, look up here.
Looks good.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Pye, I'm happy to give you a brief update on the design progress for the new middle school. We started this process back in late September, early October on design. We've been working very quickly since then, and I want to thank Mr. Pye and district administration, especially the middle school principals whose time and input through this is really helping us stay on schedule as well as make this the best project it can be. Just kind of an update on where we are in the timeline. We did submit schematic design documents to the Office of School Facilities. It's an optional submittal. We go ahead and do it so we get on their radar and we can vet any early issues with them so we don't get any surprises down the road. Next, we sent a pricing set, which was a little more extensive, to Thompson Turner so they can go through a fairly detailed pricing so we can check our budget. And we'll, And then November 30th, next Monday, we do have a virtual tabletop review with the Office of School Facilities to go through that schematic design. It's really just a introduction of the project to them, walking through the project, and then any initial concerns or issues they may see, we can address it right then and there. One of the things we do like to do throughout the process is meet with them now virtually, so that if there are questions, we kind of solve them then and there. We don't wait for their back and forth of send it to them, wait for the comments, send it back. So we generally can take care of most things within a couple hours in one day. So that's the goal of that initial, well, all these types of meetings. First week of December, we will be submitting the early site permitting package to Dorchester County. That's really going to be to get the building, the clearing for the site and the building pad area permitted ahead of everything else. We will also be submitting design development documents to the Office of School Facilities. So on November 30th, when we're reviewing schematics, we're going to hopefully set that next meeting with them right on the tail of that submittal of design development in that first week of December. Mid-December, we will get that pricing back from Thompson Turner on the set we submitted to them. So that's going to allow us to really know where we are in the budget and give us any time, any adjustments we need to make at that point, we have time to do it. So, and then early January, we will be submitting CDs to the Office of School Facilities as well as to Thompson Turner for their bidding to get their guaranteed maximum price. So at that point, hopefully we've already set the review date with the Office of School Facilities, so we won't be waiting around. We'll just do another virtual meeting, resolve the issues then and there, make any changes, and then Thompson Turner will at that time be putting that out to bid with their subs, and we will be looking at late February, once all the bidding, negotiations, all that's done, for the construction to start. And that may be an early site start there, site package. Oops. It will be finished in June of 22 to open in the fall of 22. This is just an image of the gym, which is in combination with an auditorium. We mentioned it last time we presented it, but this will have the capability in a different time to seat up to 1,000 people. So it could sit the whole school for an event, as well as a much larger event for arts and music and things. So it's one of the unique items in this school. So with that, if there are any questions?
That's wonderful. Does anybody have any questions? It looks great. Can't wait for it to happen.
So far, this has been such a pleasurable experience, I'm almost don't want to talk about it. I mean, we've not had any architect to bug me like this one does. With pointed, specific questions that I used to have to ask. Now you ask me, and it's like, I just think it reversed, but this is the way it's supposed to be. Then we give the answers back that changes the plan, and you would think that maybe in a week or two, we might see a new drawing. Within hours, a new drawing is sent back with the corrections made. Is this what you had in mind? Is what you want? He wants to meet with those principals. He's met with them 4, 5, 6 times. They're an ongoing group. They've been making all the decisions on what we should have. And the wonderful thing is they're all in agreement on things that they want to have and how they want the building laid out. And we've gone back and forth about it, dressing rooms in the dancing rooms, not in the dancing rooms, a film room, all this. And we're holding it 120,000 square feet. So every time they add something, I'm sure they're adding, we're 5,000 square feet over. We can't be over. And so we're down to 1,000 square feet over with everything we want in it. So there still could be improvement, 1,000 students, even putting the whole student body in there, which is no other place in the district can hold that. That has the same seating capacity as the community auditorium. So that's something for a school to have. But it's designed here for the bleachers are kept open on the left side. I guess they could be rolled up, but they're out, and you put the 500 there, 400, whatever it is, and then the rest of them are on the floor in chairs that we forgot. One of the principals said, well, where you can put all these chairs? So they designed a storage room with the racks would hold the number of 500 chairs. We can get in and out and get out. Everything's been thought of. Custodial closet on every hall, other than the hall mocks and stuff from one side, the building to the other. There's a guidance counselor and a principal on every hall. And then there's a restroom in the lobby of the school. And a lot of schools don't have it. A lot of have it. We questioned if that was just a waste of money, but we all decided it was the right thing to have. And so I'm trying to think of the cafeteria and gym and all is in one corner. So that's all the entertainment, and the building can be cut off there. And the fine arts classes going to the auditorium are all open to that, whatever's going on that night. So students and people can move freely without getting into the regular wing. State-of-the-art art class, 5 special ed rooms, all of them regular classroom size, 800 square feet. One of them, I think, was 1,000 square feet. We got Project Lead the Way, 2 nice big 1,000-foot square feet classrooms with the stuff that they need in there. I mean, we tried to point everything we could. The science labs are very nice. There'll be 3 on each wing, right in the center of the wing. So the 6th graders from the three teams of 4 will go to the 3. That's their 3 science labs. And so counters all down one side, 4 sinks minimum to every classroom, science room. I mean, it's pretty good. And so we probably still got a little bit more vetting to do as we finalize, but the main core stuff is there. And so I guess what a room should look like, we're going to ask the art teacher about the tables. I think what we have at Rollins, we decided was the best we purchased. A lot of the furniture would be what we want to duplicate again. We went to a lot of trouble picking that out. We got all the technology already lined up for the school. That's already been purchased, most of it, except the cameras and state-of-the-art camera system, all digital. We're hoping, I mean, and the price was what Thompson Turner gave us in the bid. It fits what we have raised, and that's a guaranteed price with a contingency built in there. So it's the best way to go, and we should have done this. See him at risk, we should have done it before, but we didn't have the players we have now. You know, you do an offense when you got the right kind of quarterback and other players in the backfield, then you can do things. When you don't have anybody worth the hoop, then guess what? You got to do what you can. And so finally I had the team, the dream team, and I that we will have the best experience of my career with the building. I'm real proud of this so far.
Thank you. We couldn't do it without the input from the district, so keep on the
You
schedule.
don't get any input from us, you know
Well, I
that.
don't need it, but if you want what you want, it'd be good to get.
Difficult to please, right?
Yeah. That's been great.
But thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Board members, in your packet, you have the personnel report. If everyone is okay to do that in the board meeting, we have resignations and recommendations for 2020 and 2021 to accept. Ms. Crosby made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Guthrie, any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. And it is unanimous. Okay. Under board committee reports, no one made a request, so we have none this week, although we've got plenty of other stuff, so that was okay. Unfinished business, I don't think, well, we'll always have unfinished business, but nothing to report. Any new business that anybody wants to bring up? No. Okay, then we will keep moving. Other business and correspondent, we did already report to you on that meeting, that the Region 1 meeting. So we did do that last board meeting. So we will move on to the csba Legislative Delegate and Advocacy Conference. And as you know, we have asked our Region 1 Director, Gail Hughes, to go for us to this actually in person, but we can look at it virtually. Please let Lee Smith know ASAP if you want to do that. Is that December 3rd and 4th? The conference, okay. And then the 4th is the voting that you will participate in.
Right, it's the delegate assembly. The 4th is the delegate assembly. Also, I would ask that if you have any concerns, you will see in the packet that's online about the things that will be discussed in that delegate assembly. If you have any concerns with that, or if there's anything that you would like for me to bring up during that time, please let me know. Email me, call me, whatever. Just let me know what it is that you may want to have a discussion on. And you, as Ms. Robinson said, you can watch that virtually as well. So
we can even watch it as a group if we want. However, we do need to register our own selves one at a time. So if you'll let Lee know, she could handle that for us. All right, and then the next thing, just to keep in mind, is we have the annual conference convention that's coming up as well, and that is in February. So look for your emails from Lee also, and let her know if you want to attend that.
Yeah, and I want to go back for just 1 minute to the conference in December. Because it is virtual, I might suggest that you do get together and watch this together if possible. That way you only have to pay for one registration. It's happening all over South Carolina. That's what they're doing. They're gathering as a group, and there's only one registration fee required, so that will save us some money if you want to get together and watch it. Or maybe if only 2 or 3 of you want to get together, that's one registration, and maybe somebody else can't make it, then that person can register.
Will they get their points they need for
The
boardsmanship?
only thing that you will not get is your Boardsmanship Institute points if you do not register. So if that does not matter to you at this point, you're saving the money, so, but you're able to watch it as a group.
Every point
with one
matters,
registration.
huh? He wants his points. Okay, thank you, though. All right, we do not have any public comments to go over right now, and so we need to move into executive session for contractual matters regarding Somerville High School Stadium property, but we will return shortly. All right, a motion has been made by Justin Farnsworth, seconded by Gail Hughes. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. For those of you not staying, I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed Thanksgiving, and don't worry about your woes. Worry about your blessings. I know y'all are happy to finally see us. I need a motion to go back into open session. Mr. Farnsworth and Mr. Guthrie second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous. Okay.
Okay, after a very long discussion, I make a motion that we accept the agreement with the provisions as amended and discussed in executive session.
Okay, the motion was made by Ms. Hughes, seconded by Mr. Mitchum. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to quickly say, and for the folks that are still here and folks watching at home, thank you, Councilman Jenkins, the mayor, County Council, Jimmy Tupper, for bringing these projects. What started out as small projects at Somerville High School and the stadium, based on our partnership and being able to come together through a lot of long sessions and a lot of long meetings, which is why we get paid the big bucks. We were able to take those kind of cool little smaller projects, and I think the end piece that we're going to end up with is going to be world-class. And I know Mr. Pye loves to say everything we do in the district is world-class. The Aquatic Center partnership, anytime that we can partner with folks and have teamwork and come together like we have, and I feel tonight's really the first night I've really felt like we've all come together in some different groups, and I feel it kind of coming together a lot more. So I just want to say that I appreciate that, and again, I think the end outcome of that is going to be really, really impressive. So I just want to say thank you to those groups, and I'm proud of us as a board for moving forward with this. Thank you.
And I would also like to thank all of you, because this is a partnership, and it's probably one of the first ones we've had in a long time with town and county and a nonprofit organization with us. And I just see good things coming from it. And I think a very important trust was built tonight. And I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to say, and I know I've been like your problem child, but I really appreciate the discussion that we've had. I have always thought this was a great project. I've always thought this was a great thing. And I do agree with Justin. I think there was a lot of trust issues that we had that were probably overcome tonight. And I'm really looking forward to this project, the completion of this project, and continuing to work with you guys and seeing all the good things that together as a team that we're going to be able to accomplish. So thank y'all very much.
Anyone else? Okay, then all in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you. I need a motion to adjourn.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Mr. Guthridge, a second. Okay. Ms. Wimberly, all those in favor, raise your hand. Yay!